Welcome to another episode of Color Stories, and welcome to May. So I'm departing a little bit from the classic Roy G. Biv kind of color palette, and I'm adding turquoise as one of the colors in this lineup. Because as blues go, I really feel like turquoise is its own unique thing. It's not green, it's not blue, and I wanted it to have a place. There's quite a lot of collage on this page, and I'm probably not going to have a lot of room to draw things in. I'm going to draw in turquoise Native American fetish. I'm going to draw in William the Hippo, and I'll talk more about those as the video unfolds. But we have Islamic things, turquoise as the gemstone. We have Mayan things, Egyptian things. So I'm going to go ahead and get these all kind of positioned. I've already been playing with layout for 20 minutes or so, and I didn't show that to you guys because it's not the most exciting to watch. I think now what I do with the pieces I've selected is probably a lot more interesting to you. So there is a good bit of history and, art history nerd facts that I love to incorporate. So I want to try and put in some blocks where the text can go. Before I go ahead and get started, I will invite you to give this a thumbs up and subscribe. You'll forgive my dirty hands. I was gardening earlier today. But yeah, like and subscribe. Stay tuned to see how this page unfolds. But for now, thanks to editing Jenny, watch this super quick, dynamic episode of Gluing Things Down. Yeah. So I assumed when I started this that there would be more pigments that actually used turquoise the gemstone. And because of its relative scarcity and high value, that was not the case. So to start off with, here in the bottom corner, we have Mayan blue. And I had that as a watercolor paint, but I didn't really know anything about it. So it dates back to the first millennium AD, and the Mayans in Mesoamerica, which is a place where turquoise is found, ironically, created this Mayan blue out of indigo and polygorskite clay. They used it on everything from murals to codex to codices to pottery. I've included pictures down here in the bottom right corner of the sacred cenote and Chichen Itza because there are traces of the pigment found in the waters there, alluding to some kind of ritual use, sacrificial use with, victims that were sent to the cenote. The Mayans and the Aztecs used quite a lot of turquoise. There are turquoise-encrusted skulls that you'll see in museums. And so that was the reference for that Mesoamerican head, again, on the bottom right. Right above that, I have a turquoise silver piece. I believe it was Navajo, and I wanted to have some reference to turquoise as the gemstone. It often signifies kind of linking the sky and the earth. It brings that sun and life-giving energy, represents prosperity, but also can be seen to protect the wearer from harm. Extremely important in many different Native American cultures, the Navajo, the Zuni, used in quite a lot of jewelry. It's a beautiful kind of sky stone, representing sky, water. The Aztecs thought it was more valuable than gold and believed that Quetzalcoatl, their god, taught them how to work the stone. In Tibet, it's in amulets quite often, and it is believed to protect the wearer from harm, used in talismans and jewelry. They call it sky stone, and it kind of represents the infinite. Good fortune and health are symbolized by turquoise, and you'll even see it in prayer wheels and in beads. On the top side of the right page, we have one water lily painting by Van Gogh. We'll come back to that in a sec. And then we have Islamic tile work and Islamic pottery. So again, the meanings of the color in Islam are similar to what we've already discussed. It represents the heavens, represents water, and so that combined concept kind of brings to mind paradise, purity, spiritual purity, as we talked about in the garden episode from last month in green. The color turquoise in Islam has a calming impact. It's serene. It's an expanse of water or a sky. So it's seen to encourage meditation and reflection. Also seen to protect the wearer from the evil eye. When it's used in architecture, it is definitely a connection between heaven and earth, creating that kind of heavenly beauty on earth. And I've been in love with Islamic pottery forever. I'm sure one of my turquoise pages is going to reference that and some of their geometric designs, almost mandala-like designs in their pottery. So Egyptian blue, again, pottery, so many pottery connections with turquoise that I just had to include it. And Egyptian blue, I think, is absolutely fascinating. So, my arm's covering it up right now, but bear with me. 5,000 years old. The color of the heavens, created from a very complex procedure of heating lime, copper, silica, and natron. Silica can be found in sand, and natron was a salt-based mineral used in mummification. They did use it as a substitute for azurite and lapis because they're both so expensive. And they would use it for murals, sarcophagi, everything. William the Hippo, which you'll see coming up in a few, is that kind of Egyptian blue glazed faience. And this whole recipe for Egyptian blue was lost and rediscovered in the late 1800s? Yeah, late 1880s by Sir Davy. It'll even luminesce under a black light. So definitely in ancient Egypt, it was kind of the color of life and sky and the sun and fertility. Turquoise the gemstone was even associated with the goddess Hathor, representing fertility and vegetation. Now, all this research and what I thought I was going to be starting with was cerulean. And it turns out that the term cerulean was actually just a catch-all phrase that the Roman writer Pliny coined. He used it to incorporate things like Egyptian blue and cobalt and smalt. Hang on, I'll get to smalt in a sec.
So I ran out of room.
In Latin, ceruleum was caelum, meaning vault of heaven. In France, it was called bleu celeste, meaning heavenly blue. And it's made from cobalt and tin oxides. Now, we're going to talk more about cobalt when we talk about specifically blue.
What
smalt
the gemstone
comes from the Italian word smaltare, or to melt. It was a very complex process again of, there are no naturally occurring blues, right? So all these things had to be engineered. Smalt was made from lime, silica, potash with cobalt, so it has some parallels with the Egyptian blue. But it was poured into water where it solidifies and shatters. Then it had to be ground to a powder. It was used in Europe throughout from the 15th century on. It had been used in Mesopotamia, and Egypt. It was cheaper than ultramarine blue, azurite blue, lapis blue, but it was a little bit duller. And it was this
in the fresco
cerulean smalt blue that the Impressionists used a good bit of. Up on the top center, I have Krishna and Shiva. They're Hindu deities with blue skin, and their skin is the color of the sky. It symbolizes their affinity with the infinite, representing the infinite cosmic nature and the boundlessness of sky and ocean. They have divine kind of protective energy, so I had to include them with that blue skin.
But
these last elements that I just put in, that's William the Hippo, that is the faience Egyptian blue, and a carved turquoise fetish from the Zuni people, a Native American tribe. So all in all, I think it's completely beautiful and fascinating. It's not where I expected things to go. Excuse me. Turquoise is mined in just a few places around the world. It's mined in the American Southwest, as you might be familiar with, mined in Mesoamerica, so kind of central South America, China, the Sinai Peninsula, and Persia and Iran. It was traded on the Silk Road along some of those eastern routes. Mentioned by Pliny, by Aristotle, by Marco Polo, so it dates back to the beginning of everything. And I have to mention cyan, because if you're doing any work with color or light, photography, pigments nowadays, cyan is the kind of primary blue that balances out with magenta and yellow, making that triad that combines to make white. It was all so fascinating and really a lot of ancient information in this one. But please stay tuned to next week when I'll use turquoise exclusively in a collage and you can be entered to win the giveaway. So until then, have a wonderful week, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next week for another color story.